back for Arfield. What a volley! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Robbie Blake! Burnley's first goal in the Premier League is something very, very special.
Wade Elliott has that change of pace and he's got away from Montgomery into the path of McCann and the follow-up finds the net. What a strike from Wade Elliott! A bolt from the claret and blue.
Oh goodness me! What a goal from Patterson! If that is to be the one that takes them to Wembley, you cannot argue with that. Pure quality.
Here goes Mike Conroy. Still time for a winner, maybe. John Francis! They came to York in their thousands. They're going home as champions.
I mean, if there's any justice in the world, Burnley would surely score from this corner. Swung right in there. Ball in there. Yeah! Michael Keane! Oh, that's justice! That is justice at the Amex Stadium. Burnley are level and deserve to be.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Revenhead, at this midweek clash against Watford. 10 in a row. We've won 10 games in a row. I know we've all made a lot about it. We've created a new song. I've put it on every single title of the last two podcasts that I did, or the podcast and the show. But let's mention it again. 10 in a row. Fantastic run of form that we are in a minute. But it's probably going to get a little bit more difficult now. We've got 3 of the top 6 coming up, starting off, of course, with Watford on Tuesday, then Luton on Saturday, and then Millwall the Tuesday after. So thick and fast games against top 6 teams, the current top 6 anyway, because it's very tight. That could chop and change. But the top 2 ain't going to change it, especially in that time. So we probably, definitely, will still be top of the league. Obviously Watford coming up, as I've mentioned, and we do have the lads waiting in the wings from the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes Watford FC podcast. They've been on the show many times, probably the people that have been on the show most, apart from me, obviously. Thanks to the relegation last year, obviously both got relegated at the same time. And they are, of course, the last team to stop Burnley from scoring in a football match. So that's something to think about ahead of this week's game, but they're not in the best of form. I am going to bring them in just a few seconds, but first I do want to talk about the news that broke today about the loan being repaid to the company that ALK used to do the leverage buyout with the club. That loan has been satisfied, which just means that particular loan has been repaid. A lot of people say, oh, Burnley are debt-free. We might not be debt-free just yet. It might have just been refinanced. But I personally think Alan Pace and ALK deserve a lot of credit for everything they've done with the club over the last 18 months. We are in a fantastic position in terms of the league. We're not just in a good position. We're going up, let's face it. We've got a very young and exciting squad. We've got an up-and-coming manager. So enjoy it, Burnley fans, because it won't always be like this. 10 in a row. Can we get to 11 in a row? Watford's form suggests that maybe. But as I've said, they are the team to last stop us from scoring in a football match. We are currently, since the league has been rebranded, now the joint holders of the record. If we win against Watford, we will be the current holders of the record since the league was rebranded in 2004. But I think Manchester United have the overall record, or somebody like Man United, a big club from like 1905. But we have to get 14 to equal that, and 15 to obviously beat that. And with the teams that we have coming up, it's going to be difficult. But I'm going to bring the lads in now because, of course, I don't know too much about Watford, but these boys all do. It's Justin, it's Pete, and it's Carl, all from the Watford FC Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast. And you've all seen them before. How are we doing, lads?
We're good, Joe. Yep. All good, thank you.
Yep. So it's happy to see that you're all good. But your form, let's just discuss that if we have to. That isn't that good, is it? I've got some notes. Don't normally make notes, but with Watford, it's always all over the place. I feel like I have to make notes. I had to even write down your manager. Don't normally have to do that. But you've not won since January the 14th when you beat Blackpool 2-0. 3 wins in 12. Like I said, you were the last team to stop us from scoring. What's going wrong? Where's this run of form come from? Because at the start of the season, everybody looked at your squad and went, "Yeah, Watford will win the league. They'll win it comfortably." So I'm surprised to see you all the way down in 6th.
Who wants to go
ahead,
Pete. In fairness, I think the 3 people sat before you didn't say we're going to win the league. I think we were probably all.
No, to be fair, I think on the earlier pod, I think both sets of fans were like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm not looking forward to this season."
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it in the end. I think you've had spells where you probably have enjoyed it, but at the minute, it's not looking great, is it?
I've enjoyed it in the end. Talk about the least required phrase for any Burnley fans. No, and so you should be enjoying it. Yeah, we've had. There's been the most Watfordy moment of all Watford moments. We brought in a young progressive manager, something that we'd all been asked for. And the now current Luton Town manager. So good luck with him at the end of the week, obviously. And we were going to be changing our culture. We weren't going to be sacking managers. We were going to be supporting the manager. And you know where this is going. 10 games in, he was given the old heave-ho. So in the meantime, we've also had an injury crisis that we haven't seen since the bubonic plague. I mean, at one stage, we had 16 first-team squad members out of the side. Ironically, one of the games was our last win, which was against Blackpool. Scored the first goal scored by a 17-year-old. So we were all quite pleased about some youth coming through for a change, which was quite nice. So it's been very up and down. But with those injuries, we've had issues. The manager Slaven Bilic has had a lot of difficulty trying to get a stable squad side. A lot of players, a lot of supporters now look at Watford, and because we know why the previous manager has got sacked because of his form over 10 games. You look at our form, as you mentioned there, over 12 games. That was a sackable offence only 21 games ago. He's won 9 out of 21. He's lost 7, and the other 5 he's drawn. But it's all been very, very meh. And the thing is, with the whole of the championship, and I appreciate from your elevated, lofty position, you probably don't have to look down as far as we are, where we've been in 3rd, but it's an awful long distance, and it's all crunched up. And you and Sheffield United have been the only 2 teams to have shown anything like consistency. And therefore you've kind of pushed past us. We have flattered to deceive. Our best players have failed to turn up on many, many occasions. But we've got some new changes now because we've got a new technical director, and the last transfer window looked like it might have been better. Plus the injuries are coming back, so maybe things are improving, but we'll see after tomorrow.
Yeah, I know you've touched on Edwards and Bilic there. I were going to ask you that. I know you must get fed up of talking about managers, and I completely respect that. Pretty much on every time you go on a podcast, people are going to talk to you about managers. But Rob Edwards didn't have a great start, but like you said, he was an up-and-coming manager. He'd done well at Forest Green, I think it was, and he's doing well at Luton now. Sorry to mention that to you, but they're above you in the league, which I never expected to see at the start of the season. They're doing well. I apologise for that. I do apologise for that, but they've started well under him. And so, are you annoyed to see your board get rid of him to then go Luton, you to bring in somebody else who then hasn't done that well? It's just all a bit of a shit show, isn't it, in terms of the manager system, really?
Well, you've just summed it up wonderfully there. What's a shit show? Well, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much.
Think,
pretty much.
When it was announced that Edwards was getting the elbow, we were absolutely perplexed by it. We were like, okay, why? And then, rather unromantically, his successor was announced like 15 minutes later. So obviously this had been building up. But the idea of Edwards was that we were going to have a complete change of regime, a completely new way of doing things. We were going to build, we were going to start anew. He was going to be backed come hell or high water. That was the phrase that was used by the CEO. Come hell or high water, we're going to back Edwards. So when he went, it was a massive surprise. The thing about him going to Luton, some people were really, really unhappy about it. I think fair play to him, because he's a young manager with a lot of career ahead of him. His time at Watford will be a footnote. It'll be literally a blip, 11 games, whatever it is. No one's going to remember this. So but I don't like the fact he's doing well. Obviously, I mean that really rankles. That really hurts. That's like a punch in the guts that he's doing well. But listen, do we get fed up talking about new managers? Yes, but it does mean that occasionally you get a media outlet going, do you want to talk about the new manager? And you go, yeah, all right then. So always something to talk about, but let's have some stability. Let's have a manager for more than 5 bloody minutes.
This comes from the man who commemorates at every opportunity that this time last year we had Roy Hodgson and how bad he was. He's still going over the old managers, let alone the most recent ones.
Maybe this is to make him look good. Maybe this is to make Bilic look good. Look, listen, we had this crap last year and we were losing matches all the time. But like last time we spoke to you, Joe, or the end of the last season, when we played you towards the end of last season, you were saying we're not going to win this game. I said to you, you will.
Yeah.
What happened? You did. And I walked out with people kicking bins behind me and shouting and swearing.
Yeah, I remember watching that vlog, and people were kicking off behind you.
Yeah, because I knew that was what was going to happen.
Let's also not forget, Joe, that we do have this habit of letting managers go, and then not all of them, but a few of them. I mean, we could name, let's say, Sean Dyche, then went on to have a pretty decent career with, and still going at the moment. Obviously, you've gone to Everton now. So the choice to move Edwards on is, in itself was against the grain of what the club was saying they were going to do. But to go to them lot up the road that is a bitter pill to swallow. We play them on April Fool's Day. Yeah, which couldn't. I mean, it's just written in the stars, isn't it? Yeah, it's just that's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, well, obviously Slaven Bilic is a current manager now, and I know that because I had to write it down, as I've mentioned. Where do you all stand with him then? I know we've gone over your form and how it's not great. You've mentioned how he's not won as many as you would have liked. Are you all happy with the current manager, or are we in a situation where you three want to change?
I think a lot of fans, and when we do like a post-match phone-in, and opinions are split. Some of people are looking at him and saying, there's no real pattern of play. There's no identity to the team. There's nothing from set pieces. And what more has he done that we couldn't have got from Rob Edwards? And the answer is not a lot, versus the other people who are just going, can we just stop changing all the time? Yeah. And can we support him? And he's had this abysmal injury crisis to deal with. I mean, before Blackpool, we won away at Norwich 1-0, and we had 3 hamstrings go in the one game. I mean, the number of hamstrings that have been going around Watford, you'd think they've got catalytic converters attached the way they go. It's ridiculous. So he's had a lot stacked up against him, but has he done everything? Not necessarily. We brought this new technical director in. The rumours are that they don't necessarily get along, and perhaps he wants to bring in his own person to kind of work in alignment with him. You don't know. He made statements in the transfer window about what he wanted, and we then went out and bought some of that, but not all of it, and other stuff that seemed a little bit strange and superfluous. Needless to say, some of those have gone down with hamstring injuries. It's Watford, after all. So it's weird. A lot of people are saying, have we become almost like supporters of the culture over 12 years now, or 10 years that the Potsos have been here, and we've gone through so many managers? Are we like just used to now going, it's not working, sack the manager? Us as fans, rather than actually sticking with him. It's an interesting thing, and it speaks to the heart of the culture of the club, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess as well, maybe the younger fans as well who have known, not like the fans who are like in their early 20s now, have known nothing than all of this. They, I can imagine, would be more like, I'll just get rid of him, it isn't working. You mentioned the injuries there. Is there any particular reason why you're getting injuries, or are you just unlucky? Do you think the training regime isn't helping?
No idea.
Probably something to do with the Nigerian curse that's currently still over us.
Oh, yes.
We've got a few years to go yet, but that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
We're running it down. We've only got 599 years of 600-year curse from the Nigerians to put up with, but we're moving through it steadily.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's one game, like, was it the Norwich game you mentioned there, Peter, where was it like 4 or 5 hamstrings went in one game? It was just absolutely ridiculous. It was just, like, what decimated our midfield. We had no midfield at all. We had to bring in the likes of Bakuna, and we're moving Gaspar from right back to midfield and stuff because it's completely makeshift. So the injuries have hampered us. But, could like Peter said, would Rob Edwards have done a worse job? I don't think so. I think it's kind of, you could put a cardboard cutout in the dugout and go, there you go. There's your manager. Would it make any difference? I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
I think there's a little bit of because of the injury situation now as well. There's a lot of people that are worried that we're trying to rush people back. João Pedro, who's been out for a while. He's obviously coming back. Imran Louza, who gives us something in midfield. There's obviously concerns over that as well. So, we could be talking in sort of 2 or 3 weeks that we're no better off in this situation if they do rush these players back. But I think we're in that rock and a hard place where we're still in the playoff picture. If we don't roll the dice now, you've just said at the start of this what the championship's like. We're going to get left behind. So I guess that's what they're trying.
There's one last thing just to tie the last Burnley game and this game was that Tom Cleverley scored the winner for us against you guys, and he went off. He scored it just before half time. He went off, and then we hadn't seen him again until last Saturday. So he basically, I think he kind of like went into one of your defenders when he scored the goal, and he went off. And for about, I don't know, 2 months, we were waiting to have him back, and he was always going to be back in 2 weeks and another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks. We got to November, and suddenly it was announced he was having an Achilles operation, which he'd needed for 6 years or so, and had been a real problem. And he'll be back in mid-February, which he has been now. But why wait 2 months when you know that that's the case? So in terms of people looking at people saying, well, who's responsible? I think there's been probably an audit at the club about the medical department in terms of how long it's taking players to come back and how ready they are, because obviously we've had some people repeat and break down again. We've looked at stretching and warming up before games, but a lot of these injuries are coming on in the 60th minute of games. Stretching and preparation, they should be okay. They'll have to be looking at diets, they'll have to be looking at creatine and protein supplements, all of these things which can be connected to this because it's just too much to be coincidental. The last thing about the training regime is that ever since the Pozzos have come here, the amount of work that they do is all recorded by GPSs, and it's all kind of stored in Udine, Udinese, in terms of making sure they're not overtraining. And we have had a couple of managers who have been given the hoik because they were overworking them and overstraining them. So it should be all scientific. It should be all good. It might just be literally one of those things. We just don't know, but they'll certainly be pouring all over it. That's for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned there, obviously, Tom Cleverley coming back after a while out, and you've mentioned some other injuries as well, plenty of hamstrings. Is there anyone important missing for this match? Anyone important other than Tom Cleverley that could be coming back that we need to know about?
Well, half the squad could turn up. We don't know who's going to turn up.
Just see who gets off the coach.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Imran Louza, I just mentioned him a second ago. I think he's a key element for us. He just has that little bit of extra quality in that midfield. Tom Cleverley can only be a good thing coming back as well. Probably not the same player he was, but in terms of experience, in terms of bodies in that midfield, because our midfield has pretty much had a loanee from Leicester in Chowdhury for most of the season, and a right back that we signed from Villarreal, as well. So it's very much patched together. So just to have something back against you guys is going to be a benefit, although I don't think it's going to do anything really in terms of the result.
At one stage, we had 7 midfield players, including a free agent who was brought in because of the injuries to the first 6. He then got injured, and we literally did have, exactly as Carl just mentioned there, we were sticking. Well, they weren't even round pegs; they were barely pegs, and we were sticking them into bowls.
I think there are some players that are coming back just in time. So this weekend, Pedro has come back into the picture. He didn't play a full match, but Pedro's back. Louza might play tomorrow night. He made an appearance on Saturday. So there are some players that are now key players that are coming back from injury. So, you should see, hopefully, some players. Well, we'll hopefully see some players coming back and playing full matches that we've been missing. So the right time for them to come back could be this game, to be honest.
Yeah, you said hopefully that. I was going to say that's not the word I was going to use, but go on.
Yeah, I think the thing that will still be missing, because it's been missing all season, is as we've said, there isn't really an identity to this team. When they go out, when we've played and we've gubbed Luton 4-0, and we gave them a good shoeing, which was very pleasing indeed.
Sorry, did we beat Luton?
We trounced them 4-0 for the second time. And anyway, sorry, just hello to any Luton fans. And it was like, that was great, but we had no idea that was turning up. I don't think they had any idea that was turning up. Everything seems to be anything good is kind of, wow, where did that come from? And the answer isn't the training ground. Anybody who's looked at you guys this season has seen that you've got whoever goes into position knows what they're doing, and they go in and they play, and you're cohesive and you're a team. We have been, no matter who we've had, we have been a collection of individuals making up 11 players on the pitch, fundamentally. Now, last Saturday, because our two signings at centre-back, Porteous from Hibernian and a lad called Hoot from Anderlecht, your previous connections, obviously, with company, look like two reasonable improvements in an area that's long needed some improvement. And hopefully they're the kind of characters who might help improve that kind of solidity and help us build. But at the moment, we're still far from being a proper team.
Yeah, fair enough. And you mentioned it there as well, and you mentioned it about 10, 15 minutes ago, the no identity, the no pattern of play. What style of play would you describe that you are playing at the minute then, if you can? Like, what is it? Defensive? Is it attacking? Is it expansive? Like, what do you do on the pitch? Or do you just not know?
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
There's no identity at all. You have got no idea. I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I'll tell you what it is. There's a lot of passing around between the back four, and then they seem to lump it forward to sort of nobody in particular. And then it comes back to the back four, and they knock it about between them again. Honestly, I don't know what we are. Do you? Do you, Cole? Do you, Peter? Do you know what we are?
My favourite word probably would be incoherent. On the phone in last Saturday. Bear in mind, this is after a draw, but we've seen lots of this. Nipper, hello Nipper, if you're listening, came in and he summed it up absolutely beautifully. He hadn't been able to get to games for a long time, for one reason or another. He got to a live game and he said, "We're still the same. We still have," and this is where the identity thing comes from. He said, "I still don't know what kind of team we are. We're not a counter-attacking team. We're not a possession team. We're not a physical team. We're not a long ball team. What is it we do?" And exactly as Justin said there, what we tend to do is play a lot of it around the back. At the moment, we're also playing a lot of that kind of, let's play it to you, the centre back, from a goal kick and try and drag everybody forward. But the one thing we don't do is use somebody like Sar's pace and go, all right, we dragged you forward, so now we're going to put it in behind you. We don't do that. And Sar is, other than one moment on Saturday, which was purely absolutely ridiculous electric pace, which is the first time he's used it for about 23 games, and beat two players ridiculously quickly. He's not prepared to run in behind. He's not prepared to go at a player. So he had one of his better games, as I say, on Saturday, because he had a couple of those moments when you just went, right, okay, you can be road runner and go meet and go whoosh. Other than that, he seems very unwilling to do so. And so what it means is that if teams are pushing onto us in the box, they'll push up right up to the halfway line, because they'll keep us in, because we're not prepared to do the hard work and go back in, put the ball in and stretch them back and force them back and create areas to play in the middle. So, yeah, incoherent, definitely.
Fair enough. It's interesting, this identity debate, because last season, Burnley had a certain identity. Obviously, it got relegated with you, but you knew what you'd expect from Burnley team. We'd be compact. We'd put robust challenges in. We'd force you out wide. We'd always either collect the cross or head it away. And we'd try and hit you with set pieces. Not the best style of football, some may say, but it worked for so long, so that's all we were bothered about. We've completely changed everything about the club, the ethos, the style of play. Now we have a completely different identity. So we've had a different gaffer come in, different players, completely changed the identity. And now we are an expansive football team that will play it out from the back, will pressure. We'll have a keeper playing higher than the centre-backs on some occasions on Saturday. So why do you think you don't have an identity? Because I seem to talk to you guys, and no matter who the manager is, it's always, I don't really know what the identity sort of is at the minute. Is it the puzzle? The chairman's putting the oar in. Like, what do you think it is, or just not backed?
A little bit of all the above for me. I mean, in terms of the ownership, they're always going to structure it in a way that you can't even use manager at our club. It's the coach isn't given the time, isn't necessary. He's given a bunch of players that they probably don't know a huge amount about, and is told to go and do that magic. But we have directors of football. We have a lot of people that seem to be involved in the day-to-day running of the football. Where I can imagine Vincent Kompany being the type of player that he was, is very much this is my train set, and I'll do with it as I please. And you back me, and fair play to Burnley. I'll say that openly, that what they've done and what they've achieved this season is incredible. Am I jealous? Fuck yes, I'm jealous. It's unreal what you've done this season. But for us, honestly and truthfully, that there's not a lot that can change until the ownership sort of understands that you can't go and be successful in football like this. In my opinion, that's my opinion. I don't think we can be successful long term in our current state.
I think it's recruitment as well. I think we're recruiting players that don't know the league. We seem to be going out to South America quite a lot and bringing in sort of Brazilians and
Pat Butcher.
Yes, yeah. Matthias Martins has sort of been dubbed Pat Butcher by us for his flamboyant style, shall we say. But we're bringing in players that don't really know the league. What we need is nuts and bolts defenders, nuts and bolts midfielders, and we seem to keep getting these flamboyant and flair players that occasionally are nice to watch, but don't really want to get hurt, don't want to get stuck in. So you've got, as Peter alluded to earlier, 11 individuals. What we really need is, if you could magic it up or import it, is some sort of team spirit. Some kind of togetherness, some kind of common goal, because between them they don't really seem to kind of like each other or get on with each other or sort of understand how each other plays. It's really frustrating to watch for me.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of fans from other clubs will have looked at Watford and gone, "That looks absolutely bonkers." And for long periods, that'd be absolutely spot on. For at the start of the whole process, actually, it all kind of made sense. We were bringing people in, but what we're getting is the tail end of this, whereby somebody, a head coach is now brought in maybe for 3 months. Now, if you're a player and you're on whatever contract you're on, and it's another new coach, do I listen to him or do I just ride it out for 3 months? Because then he'll go and I'll have another one coming in. So it's created this culture within the team, seemingly, of Christ, no, I can just wait you out. I can just wait. Now, in the early parts, we were quite smug about teams like Burnley under Sean Dyche and going, well, what's going to happen when Sean Dyche leaves and you're really kind of key man dependent on this one person? Well, actually, you've done it. And this last season, in a single transfer window, you brought in a manager who has galvanised the seemingly the backroom staff and the whole club being behind him. That's not something you get at Watford now, because when the manager or the head coach, whatever you want to call him, is brought in, he's almost brought in like the latest patsy. It's go there, fifth window, book depository, pick up the rifle, and you'll be shot in about 3 months. Don't worry, you'll get severance payment. That's really what it is. And we've had a director of football, a guy called Gioretta, who is farcical. And why he is still with the club, we have no idea, because we now have a new director of football, but the old one is still about. Presumably he knows where some bodies are buried. And we hope that we will move in a direction. But the thing that's always said is, it's going to take 3 or 4 transfer windows to work this out. How many players did you bring in? How many players did you ship out?
In the summer, it was 16. I think 17 left, 16 come in, something like that. Might be a little bit hit and miss on numbers.
So it can be done. It can be done. But the one thing I would suggest that, and I'm not saying this out of knowledge, but by look at the table, is you seem to have had everybody on the boat paddling in the same direction. Watford behind the scenes, everybody's got their own agenda. It's going all sorts of different ways. It's a manager coming out and saying, I want a midfielder, I want a winger, and I need another forward. And they go, all right, here's a Portuguese right back.
But also...
whose agenda are we playing to? You know, and that's the thing. So what we think, and this is the argument for people who are suggesting that Slaven Bilic might have to move now, is simply the fact that if it is going to be at the end of this season or whenever that we're going to get a manager who can work with the new technical director, do it earlier than later if it's available. Just get it done and get sorted. So we've got a long-term things of everybody moving in the same boat. It'd be very unfortunate for Slaven Bilic. He's done nothing wrong. He's spoken very well, but the team has continued to be pretty uninspiring, I would suggest. But it's not something we revel at all.
No, but I think it's like in the when you're in a band or whatever. There's a phrase: "all the gear and no idea." You get guys turning up with, like, you know, all the best guitars and all the. But if you don't know any chord progressions, it's all very nice having a, you know, expensive Les Paul Gold Top and a Marshall Stack. But if you can't play, what's the point? And to me, we need more players that suit the division. And we need players that kind of get on with each other. And hey, look at it.
What are you saying?
Oh, you've got the yeah. We've all, yes, I'm guilty of that as anybody. But yeah, to me, it's all a bit kind of substance, style over substance for us, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what's your ambitions for the season then? Now at the minute, is it a case of limp into the playoffs and see what happens? Because it is always a lottery when you're in the playoffs. But I used to look at the league table, and for ages, Watford had been forward, third, and just up and down. And like you said, you've been on this run of form now where you seem to have slipped down to sixth. I think you are level on points with whoever's in seventh. No, you're 1 point ahead of Sunderland in seventh, 1 point ahead of Blackburn in eighth, then you're 2 points ahead of West Brom, and then Norwich come after that, and then Hull are on a bit of a resurgence. Are you worried about dropping out of the playoffs, or are you confident you're going to finish in the playoffs and then see how you get on, or is it just you ain't got a clue what's going to happen at the minute because everything's just up in the air?
Yeah, that one. Haven't got a clue. My ambition is not meeting Luton at the final at Wembley of the playoffs, because that is going to be horrendous. Well, yeah, it's tasty if you win.
For a neutral, yeah.
Yeah, for a neutral, yeah. But
I hate to play Blackburn in the playoffs, so I completely get that. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, for me, I don't know. I mean, last week we did a podcast and I said, yeah, we'll probably end up in the playoffs. I don't know. I really don't know, Joe. It's hit and miss, mate. It really is.
We're coming into a point of the season, Joe, where you've just said it yourself. You're playing teams sort of in and around that top half. So are we. You know, we've got you guys coming up, Sheffield United, and the games just keep coming. So I think the next 5 games for us will probably dictate where we are. I would say for the season. You know, and it's quite difficult for me to say this, but in a respectful way. You know, if we got a draw at Burnley, I'd be over the moon. Because of your position. The same with Sheffield United. You know, the only way I see us beating Burnley is if you do what you did against Sheffield United, where you pretty much just thought, we're gonna coast this, and Burnley on their A game. That's the only way I see us getting a result out there. And we don't travel particularly well at your place. I think I saw the last win there, which is when Will Hughes scored
3-0.
3-1. Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, and Andre Gray as well. But yeah, so I don't see much happening there. And then, like I say, the other games coming up, this league is bonkers, so mad. You know, we could be mid-table and 5 points off the playoffs. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, look at the runs that some teams have had. They've just had runs and then they're in the playoffs. That Millwall all of a sudden. Sunderland
West Brom have come out of nowhere, haven't they, this season? Honestly, it's a fantastic league, though. And based on that, do you know what? I'm not actually overly bothered if we don't go up this season. I think I'd rather try and look for this identity a little bit more before we even think about playoffs or promotion, because we'll get battered next season if we went up. And there's just been no point. I can't do that again. Not after Roy Hodgson and all that. Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, you look at you guys this season and you look ready, seemingly, to get up there. You're going to know that you're going to be there long in advance. You're going to be planned. You're going to be, again, as we say, coherent and all together in terms of who else you're going to be bringing in. You're going to have a shot at trying to stay in. If we got up now, it's going to be last knockings. It's going to be unplanned. And having been up and down again, I think what we want to see more than anything is coherence. We want to see structure. We want to see some plan. The only reason why we want to get back up is because of the financial side. Because by all accounts, from what we can see from the finances, the parachute payments have already been hocked. That's already been mortgaged, basically. So pretty much as per next season, at the end of this season, there will be there'll be another, either a fire sale or certainly a reduction in terms of people leaving on the books, and that have to include Ismail Assar, who's been so flaky since we've had him, that even despite his undoubted talent, he has the ability to rip a team in half if he wants to. The problem is, does he want to? Nobody's ever kind of gone, yeah, okay, we're going to bite the bullet and going to come into him for 25 million. Nobody's ever done it, so we're not ready for going up.
I did think that he might go in the January transfer window, but it's interesting to say about not being ready to go, because I think the signings that we made in January show that we're already just like, right, we're up. We'll bring these lads in now, get them embedded into the side. So I do understand that, and it's interesting, Carlos, what you said as well there about not really that bothered about if you go up because you want to find an identity. If there was a way of winning the league and staying in the Championship, I'd do that. Not because I'm necessarily worried about next season and getting dicked every single week. It's just not as fun. This has been my favourite season watching Burnley in my life, I think, and that's saying something after 2009-10. Well, obviously we've done it before though. Like, we've won the Championship before, but this time we're doing it in a certain playing style. And of course, we finished 7th as well in one season, and I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the season after, even though we had a shit season in league, because obviously I went to Olympiacos and Aberdeen, and that was fun. But this season, it's been absolutely class. So, I'd like to win the league, but stay in the Championship if possible. But obviously, I know that's not possible. But moving on to the game, how do you guys think it's going to go? Not necessarily in terms of predictions, because I think you've all kind of nailed your colours to that mast already. But like the styles of play, I know again it's difficult to ask you that question because you feel like you don't know. But is Saar going to turn up? Are you expecting Saar to turn up? Are you expecting Watford to be little bit more battling? Because it seems like you fought back against Blackburn on Saturday and did all right to get back into the game. How are you expecting to set up, and how are you expecting it to go against our style?
I'm gonna somewhat contradict the flow of this in this way. If there's a team we are set up to play well against, it's probably Burnley. Right. And the reason being is we play better against teams that like to play football. The majority of the performances that we've had and that we've struggled against haven't necessarily so much been those in and around the playoffs so much. It's been the lower teams in the Championship who will basically sit deep. Once we've kind of once we've got the ball, they'll just sit deep in their own half and go, come on, then come and break us down. And we don't have the imagination. And as said earlier on, when they are up high, we haven't had the imagination to turn them around. So that's what kind of really hurts us. And then they sucker punch us with either set pieces or goals against the run of play. And what we have is this glass jaw in mentality. We are such an emotional team, as somebody said on the phone the other day. We kind of get so affected mentally by it. So if you come through and play football against us and are trying to keep it and we get a nick, then there might be an opportunity, knowing what a good footballing side that you are, that we might set up to play on the counter-attack and might actually kind of cause you some problems and some frustrations, because we've got all the tools there. They just need to be of the mindset. So I hope that we would come, and if we can get a draw and take 4 points off of you guys this season, it's not something that makes a season, but it would be one of the things to point to it. I'm not saying we're going to win because you haven't lost a single game at home.
The thing is, Peter, and the problem with the game is that you've got in the background, you're about to break a record. Now, whenever there's something on it, a team's hasn't scored in 24 years and they now play Watford, we will concede without a doubt. And I think it's that. Well, I think we must sit in a press room watching all the media talk about Burnley and go, do you know what? Let's help them out. We'll give them a go.
You say that. Who stopped Liverpool's run in the Premier League?
Yeah.
Occasionally we do spoil the party. We do. Are we going to do it Saturday? I don't know. I mean, you say is Saar going to turn up. We never know. We don't know. We don't know if he's going to turn up. We don't know if any of our players are going to turn up. It's almost like watching a different team every week, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know, Joe. I think I've got a feeling. I'll tell you what I've done. I'll tell you what I've done. I've had a 50p bet on Watford to win 4-1 because it was something ridiculous, like 100 to 1. So I thought, listen, if we do win, it's going to be even sweeter if we win 4-1. But it's not going to happen. I honestly think we're going to. I don't even think we're going to draw. I think we're going to lose tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Watford.
Well, we'll get into some predictions because obviously it's different because I remember last time we talked about I know we spoke earlier in the season, but the big game towards the end of last season that we needed to win and we ended up winning. I was going into this thinking there's absolutely no chance that we're going to win this, as you've already mentioned.
We told you.
So my prediction, but now it's going to be a completely flip reverse where I'm coming into this so confident, and it's not just because of your run of form. Just I watched us absolutely destroy Preston. We destroyed Norwich. We went 1-0 down against West Brom, but turned it round. We just have this never say die attitude. Whereas even when we go 1-0 down, we're still winning games. We've gone 1-0 down so many times this season, and we've turned it round. We scored in the 104th minute against Rotherham to win a game, for example. All right, the ref might have added on a bit more than he should have done, but I don't really give a shit. But Scott Twine scoring in the 95th minute. It's
Man
just...
after me own heart. Well done.
Well said. Well said.
I'm just so confident at the minute, and then you can fast forward this to 27 hours tomorrow when the game's finished, and I might look a fool, but I said the same thing to the Preston fan, the pre-Preston game podcast that we did. I was so confident going into that one, and it's same again. We just seem to win 3-0 every week as well. You are a bit better than Preston, I think, and I still think you're better than Norwich, despite the run of form that you're on. So maybe 2-0, maybe 2-1 or 3-1.
Very kind of you.
Yeah, it's what every team aspires to be, a bit better than Preston. Talk about damning with faint praise.
But I'm expecting a Burnley win just because of the form that we're in. No reflection on you guys, but I think looking at that as well, it's making me think you're going into this not high on confidence. And so many teams have come to the turf already having poor seasons, and they've just been dismantled. So I'm expecting us to win. I'm expecting us to win comfortably. We had so many players playing well on Saturday as well. Zarore was fantastic. Ashley Barnes, he's still doing it. Ashley Barnes, absolutely brilliant. Nathan Teller obviously got the hat trick. He was fantastic. Our goalkeeper doesn't need to make many saves to play well. He just sprays passes about. He's basically, I'm going to say a B-Tech Edison, but that's giving him a disservice. He's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, pretty confident.
You got the boy from Man City as well as defender. What was his name?
Taylor Hayward-Bellis. Yeah,
he's injured, isn't he?
At the minute. Yeah, he is. You're right, okay.
However, we've had a lad from Sweden called Ekdal who we just bought, and he's come in, and now people are saying, well, Taylor Hayward-Bellis won't get back in the side. It's just every single person that they've bought it's just worked, apart from maybe McNally, who's now on loan at Coventry, but he's ripping, he's pulling up trees at Coventry. They all love him, so it is what it is. But
I can't believe Southampton didn't ask for the boy.
Yeah, Taylor back.
I'm really surprised by that. Really,
two words, Nathan and Jones.
Exactly that. He was asked in an interview with about a week left of the transfer window. Nathan Teller is doing fantastic at Burnley. Is there any plans of recalling him? He said, well, there's a bit of a difference in the Premier League and the Championship. Bear in mind, they were bottom at the time and still are.
What does he know about
top? Exactly. He ain't got a clue, has he? So, we're happy to see him doing well, but we don't think he's got the quality to do it in the Premier League. There are his actual words. Imagine Nathan Teller looking at that and thinking, why would I go back to Southampton now? Obviously, it's different. He's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's my prediction. I'm probably going to go 3-1.
I've got to say something, though, before you move on. That poor lad could have an absolute season of his life and still be playing in the Championship next season.
Yeah. It depends how they do, doesn't it? It depends if they play hardball and stuff. I would suspect with us going up and then probably going down now, that they'll just be like, right, fine, you can have him for 15 million or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
As another question, and I appreciate this is here for Clarets to find out what we're doing, but what about obviously what's going on at Man City at the moment, and obviously companies' association to Man City? Are you looking at that nervously in any way, shape, or form?
Not yet. If Pep left now or at the end of the season, I don't think City will come in for Kompany just yet. They might do, and I think Kompany might have a little bit more sense. I think he needs to do more. Yeah, I think he needs to learn more in the game. Probably going to the Premier League, keepers there.
Couple seasons in the Premier League,
something like that. Yeah, just earn more respect and experience in the Premier League, and then City can come calling. Because look at what happened with Frank Lampard and Chelsea. Did a mediocre job at Derby, went to Chelsea too soon. Now he's gone to Everton, that failed, and now his stock company any lower, and he's probably going to have to go back to the Championship. Same with Gerrard, probably got a job too big for him in the Villa job, didn't work. I think he can look at them too and think, yeah, let's just wait a bit, and I think he will wait a bit. I think Pep's probably got another few years left in him yet. Anyway,
I think he said because of all of this, he ain't going anywhere. He tends to be a bit begrudging, which might do it. But it was just kind of interesting because, you've got I did the maths on it. You've got 2.46 points per game at home. That is obscene, and you've got 2 points per game on the road. Now that is just frankly rude, and it's a good job Watford beat you. Otherwise, it would be damn well impolite.
Yeah. Well, we haven't lost a game in the Championship at home since December 2015, September 2015, I think it was. It's been a while. All right, we spent 9 seasons in the Premier League, whatever it was, 7 seasons. So that time frame.
A stat's a stat, mate. A stat is a stat. You take it. It is. You take it.
So you'll do well to beat us, but. I'm looking at your squad on paper, it's possible. But anyway, predictions, lads. I'm going to say 3-1. I think you've got some decent attacking players, and you've got, like you said, Sarr, who's ridiculously fast. So you might be able to break us down. But yeah, I think we'll have enough to win, personally.
Well, I'll join you on 3-1 as well to Burnley.
Fair enough.
I think did you not say that yesterday on our?
I did, yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
I've already called it 3-1. Yeah. Justin.
Well, yeah, I think it's. I'm not sure where the one's coming from, to be honest. 2 or 3-0 to Burnley, probably. Let's go for 2-0 Burnley.
And I'm going to go for 1-1, primarily because I've drunk this already.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. No, I'd draw, Pete. I don't know. I mean, I suppose that is kind of the likely result, isn't it? If it's you need to win this to get your record, don't you? And we're not likely to beat you, so a draw is likely. But I don't know. We're not scoring goals that well. We don't score in the first half, do we? When's the last time we scored in the first half? Luton, probably.
Yeah, which was about 2.5 minutes. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't think there's any danger for Burnley fans. I think you'd be quite comfortable. Quite comfortable.
Yeah. There's me trying to insert some jeopardy for everybody. Never mind.
No.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, lads, anyway, it's always good to have you on. I always end up chatting a bit more when you're on. I've always said if the chat's good, I'll always leave it running. But I'm pretty sure everyone who's been around watching this podcast, listening to this podcast for a while, knows where to find you, because you've been, I think this is like your 4th appearance now on the show. So thank you again for coming on.
Do we get a match ball?
Well, I sent one after your 3rd appearance early in the season. Did it not arrive?
No,
that's a shame.
No. We turn up like a bad smell. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll send you a do not scratch your eyes beer mat. Then that's what we'll do.
Please do. I'd love
absolutely.
Absolutely. Fantastic. But yeah, just want to let everyone know who is new to the podcast where they can find the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes Watford FC podcast.
Well, if you want to listen to us, we're on Spotify and we're on Apple and anywhere else where you can get podcasts. We have a YouTube channel. We have a TikTok. We're everywhere. On Twitter, we are at DNSYE_podcast. I think that's the same for Instagram, isn't it, Carl?
It is, yeah.
So yeah, we're here, there, and everywhere, really. So
you can go to the website, which is, again, is like a hub for everything, which is DoNotScratchYourEyes.com.
Happy days. Please check the lads out. Probably my favourite guest, if I'm being honest with you. Apart from when the beat is early in the season.
See, that's where we come onto this podcast.
The thing is, we're going to get treated. We don't watch the other ones. He probably says that to everybody, He probably says
I might do. You never know. You'll have to go back and watch all my videos to find out, please.
Everybody else comes on and says, no, I think we're going to win. Whereas we just go, no, you're going to beat us.
No, you're going to win.
Beat us again.
That's what it is.
But Justin, thank you. Pete, thank you. Carlos, thank you. Please check the lads out if you can. Good luck for the rest of the season. Obviously, apart from tomorrow. But I would love it if you came up with us, because I'll get to chat to you again next season. But if not, hopefully we'll get each other in the FA Cup.
That'd be lovely.
Let's hope there's no broken hearts on Valentine's Day, eh?
No, yeah.
Oh, you've been keeping that one up your sleeve since the start, haven't you?
I literally just thought that. I'm thinking it's Valentine's Day. We're already unpopular for watching
48 minutes
tomorrow, Yeah. So yeah.
Right, well, thank you for coming on the show, lads. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I get to speak to you next season.
Cheers, guys. Take care, all.